I'm a huge Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fan. Very bittersweet about the fact that we only have one episode left of Better Call Saul, then it's all over. But there's an interesting article that came out from comicbook.com from a podcast inside the Gilliverse with the Breaking Bad Better Call Saul creator, Vince Gillian. He talked about an idea of a video game set inside the Breaking Bad Better Call Saul universe. By the way, article link below in the description section. Quote unquote, I'm not much of a game player, but how could you not know about Grand Theft Auto? I remember saying to the guys that are off running Apple now, who said yes originally to Breaking Bad, who owns Grand Theft Auto? Can't you have a module? Can't there be like a Breaking Bad game? It still makes sense to me. That never came to fruition. There have been quite a few attempts at video games. Some of them kind of made it to market. We tried to do a VR experience with Sony, PlayStation VR headset. We did make a mobile game that lasted for a little while. Gillian went on to say that the team wrote 3 or 4 different video games, but nothing ever came out of it. He noted that making video games is really hard and expensive, but the team is also incredibly protective of the Breaking Bad brand. With that said, Gillian said fans shouldn't hold their breath for a Breaking Bad video game, noting they don't want to make something like the infamous E.T. Atari video game. Hey, there's worse games out there than E.T. Once again, article link below in the description section. And since I love ideas and thought videos, I decided to whip up my vision for what a Breaking Bad video game would be like, really loosely. And if you would be interested in a Breaking Bad video game, which most likely will never happen, but if it did, how do you think it should be? How do you think it should be crafted? What studio you think should be behind a Breaking Bad game? Feel free and let me know below in the comment section. Now, what I would like in best case scenario for this hypothetical Breaking Bad game would be for it to obviously involve Vince Gillian, Peter Gold, some of the writers from Breaking Bad, as well as Better Call Saul. I don't know if we could get all the actors on board to revoice and like mocap their characters, but that'd be amazing if we could, or at least get some voice actors that could do a really good job impersonating key characters. But a lot of the characters you would see from Breaking Bad would make an appearance. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Sadly, the voice actor that played Ed, the disappearer, vacuum guy, did pass away sometime after El Camino came out. I think it was actually the next day. So they can't bring him back, but maybe they could at least use his audio or use audio from other characters throughout the stories of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Or if they can't get the actors to come on board for reasons, maybe they're too expensive, maybe they could at least get voice actors and actresses that, you know, kind of resemble and sound like their counterparts from the TV shows of Breaking Bad as well as Better Call Saul. But still, it would be amazing if you got most of the actors and actresses back to reprise their roles, which include obviously Walter, Jesse, Mike Ehrmantraut, Saul Goodman, Gus Fring, Hank, Gomi, Tyrus, Victor, Hector Salamanca, Huel, Kubi, Skylar, Maria, Jane, the Salamanca cousins, Skinny Pete, Badger, just to name a few. The setting, obviously, in Albuquerque during the time period of Breaking Bad in the 2000s. I think I would start the story around season 2, maybe right after Walter meets Gus and they start working together, where the game would begin. But it would progress throughout the main story of Breaking Bad from season 2 all the way to the end and aftermath of Breaking Bad. You would start as a new character. I guess you would have like ability to customize your character, male, female, or non-binary, or whatever you wish for it to look like. And you would start basically at the bottom. It would be an open world game, but a lot more grounded than GTA currently is. I would like to see this game on the Unreal Engine 5, perhaps even developed by Epic themselves. Your character starts off in a room in a local shelter. All you really have access to is public transportation, like the taxis, buses, because you're starting off at the very bottom. You don't have very much money in your pocket. You have the clothes on your back, and you've been charged for drug dealing or some other crime. While you were incarcerated, you were interrogated by Hank and Gomi, but you refused to talk. Saul Goodman steps in to help get the charges dropped, and he also puts you in contact with other characters in order to help you get more work and work yourself up throughout the events of the game, including jobs for Saul as well as some of his henchmen. The character will be loosely connected to some of the events, not all of them, throughout the Breaking Bad universe. All the events will just simply be happening in the background. You hear about them on the news or through other characters as the game and the story progresses. You start off doing missions for Saul, then eventually he puts you in contact with Mike. You do some stuff for Mike, and of course Mike likes you, and he gets you on board with Gus Fring, and then you start doing stuff for Gus and Mike as well. And then I guess in the final arc of the game, you end up doing stuff for Walter and Jesse. Obviously, there would be enemies in the game, such as the Albuquerque Police Department, the DEA with Hank and Gomi, rival street gangs, the Salamancas until they're completely wiped out. And at the end of the game, the main antagonist, the main faction you'd have to contend with is Jack Welker's white supremacist group. You would earn money by doing side jobs as well as main jobs, which progress the story and put money in your character's pocket. Anything from dealing, robberies, breaking and entering, Grand Theft Auto, being a hired gun for various characters like Saul, Mike, Gus, Walter. With money, of course, you can buy things like clothing, hairstyles, tattoos, weapons, even vehicles, safe houses. But you're going to need to save up to at least $125 to be able to initiate the end game. Plus, you also have to pay for food as well as potential hospital bills. Now, if your character is injured, you have to get to a hospital, a clinic, or some sort of shady underground doctor in order to get patched up and healed before you die. Because if you die, it's game over, man. So it'd be kind of in a way, similar to Elden Ring or Dark Souls, where it's not exactly easy. Maybe it's not as hard as those games, but death could very well mean the end of the game. You just start over at the very beginning after you get past the tutorial phase. Since it's a video game, there would be different levels of difficulty, and that would be the most difficult level, is you have to make it through the game without dying, and if you die, you have to start completely over. But perhaps if you just die at the normal difficulty level, it just puts you at the beginning of that story arc or at the beginning of the mission. Now, if you're injured, obviously, you can use first aid kits to temporarily halt your health from deteriorating further, buying player time to get treatment. Similar to Mafia and Mafia 2, you'll have to obey traffic laws because you can get in trouble by the Albuquerque Police Department for speeding or running stop signs. So you definitely don't want to do that. But if you manage to get through the game, the main jobs, the side quests, and you raise enough money and somehow you've survived to raise $125,000, and it would not be easy to earn $125,000. It's not going to be going in and playing GTA Online. Once you have $125,000 saved up, and you'll have to save it up, then you'll be able to get in contact with Ed, the disappearer, aka the vacuum guy, and that is the end game. You'll go and meet him. You have to meet him at a certain time. There'll be a time limit, and you have to make sure nobody follows you. And once you're picked up in the van, then of course he will make a new identity for you, and then he will disappear you somewhere else in the world. And that's the end of the game. That's how it would basically end for you. But there'll be some really cool tie-ins and Easter eggs to Breaking Bad as well as Better Call Saul. Obviously, I don't think this game will ever happen. And if it did, I hope that it would be done by a studio that actually knows what they're doing, that would take the material and the franchise of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul seriously and honor those two awesome shows and have Vince, Gillian, Peter Gold, and a few others involved in the project as well. And it definitely needs to be set in Albuquerque, obviously, maybe with some key sites that you see in Breaking Bad as well as Better Call Saul. And oh yes, it definitely needs to be on Unreal Engine 5. So there you go. That's pretty much what information we had regarding a potential hypothetical Breaking Bad game. Most likely will never happen, but us Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul fans can always dream, right? Once again, article linked below in the description section. Your thoughts, your views, opinions, and ideas regarding what you would like to see in a hypothetical Breaking Bad game. As always, welcome below in the comment section.